Hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here today. This is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among many other things. I wanted to bring this video here to you, of course, because not only is it a big request from my community, but this has been a good coin for quite some time. So definitely check it out. Obviously, reference the fundamentals in your own time. This is a technical analysis only, but I do want to thank my patrons for recommending that I cover this again because, I get a lot of requests and you are my patrons. You're my favorite, and I hate to, favoritize or, obviously pick favorites, but obviously I have to because you make my world, and I really do sincerely appreciate you. But more importantly, this is not for anything other than educational purposes. So if you're new to the channel, please understand that I am not a financial advisor. I've been in the industry for a very long time. I've been trading for 15 years, and I can tell you that in that experience, I have a very high success rate. I average about 80% success rate for all of my trades, and I share all my trades with my patrons. So that's another reason why I do prioritize their requests above and beyond others, just based on the simple fact that you pay good money for this service, and I need to make sure to honor you and help you and respect you in that sense. So again, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. I'm sorry I sound like a broken record by now. Regardless, if you're new to the channel, I hope you do learn something here today. My goal is to help you make more informed decisions, become a better, more effective trader. So you can be more self-sufficient, but I do recommend you learn as much as you can from as many people as possible. Just because I have a high success rate or I have, good fundamentals, good things that drive me in the right direction to be a successful trader, doesn't mean you can't disseminate a lot of good information from a lot of different people. I've gotten to where I'm at today based on a lot of different, thought processes, a lot of different skill sets. Even though I do have experience, in larger industry settings, I do have a lot of great experience that's been gathered from other people like you and I. If that makes any sense at all. I hope that does. If not, that's no worries at all. Feel free to message me on Telegram if you have any further questions. And obviously, if you have any questions regarding my Patreon account too, members are growing. It's been a great experience. So thank you again so much for everything that goes for even my community members too that are not subscribed to my Patreon account. Thank you again. Really do appreciate you. All right, moving forward, let's go ahead and jump into the charts. I do tend to ramble sometimes. Sincerely apologize. I hope you learned something here today. Let's get to it. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look here at Algorand. And just before we do, we look at Bitcoin, Ethereum first, get a baseline of the market so know exactly what's going on. So if you're new to the channel, we'll just take a quick peek at Bitcoin and Ethereum so we know, obviously, what Bitcoin's doing, how Bitcoin's controlling the market. Is it going to decrease our portfolio by 20% in only 8 hours? We will see, right? That did happen to us yesterday if you weren't paying much attention. A very unfortunate situation. But regardless, probably just a better opportunity to buy in at a lower price. That being said, we also look at Ethereum too because a lot of things are on the ERC20 blockchain. So just keep that in mind. That's the main reason for that. Give you kind of a quick perspective before we get into the charts. Okay. So another thing to preface here is the fact that we use TradingView desktop application. That's my primary source here for everything you see. I use the paid versions. It helps me, kind of look at the charts a little bit more effectively because I can have more than 2 indicators present at any given time. Even though I highly recommend only using 2 indicators per time frame, I still cycle through, 4 to 5 time frames. So it's important to kind of look at that. And you'll see kind of how as we go along. What I want you to know is there's a link in the description below for a free month if you want to check that out. See if you like it, before you buy it. And if so, great, we both get a benefit there. All right, so what you're looking at here, first of all, these red boxes, they make more sense in the one-day chart, but what they are is they're basically the last 6 weeks of bearish sentiment. In other words, Mondays and Tuesdays, that's what you see here. So I've highlighted these candlesticks essentially are Mondays and Tuesdays the last 6 weeks. So as we can see, 5 out of 6 of them, minus 1 anomaly here where we had a green Monday, they've all been pretty much on the red side. And the reason why is because us, the traditional normal consumer that isn't essentially a whale that's controlling the market, the price action, we don't have much impact on the price. We do on the weekends because they're taking their sweet time. They're not actually active. So when the whales are taking the weekends off, they're cashing their checks and having a good time with all the money they made off of us during the weekdays. We bump up the price in a bull market. We bump up the price almost every single Friday and Saturday and Sunday leading into the weekend. Once Monday and Tuesday rolls around, all the whales cash out, they take their profits and essentially drive the price down. Yesterday was an anomaly. That's kind of an El Salvador issue. That's a whole other story. Check that out in your own time. Of course, that's more of a fundamental scenario that caused the price to come down. We didn't really expect that. No one saw that coming. But for the most part, you will see a traditionally red and red Tuesdays and Mondays, just the way it works. Okay, so I want you to know that because that's really helpful in a bull market to understand. So you might want to consider taking your profits on Sunday, for example. I've been able to do that for the last month or so, and it's been very helpful to kind of exit my position. Yes, there's occasions where the price can continue upwards, but for the most part, it will come back down come Tuesday or Wednesday at the latest. All right, so pro tips there, just so you know. Moving on to the 4-hour chart, we are below both major support and resistance levels. Both major resistance levels. These two are resistance levels now, so the 50 and the 200 are working above the price. Therefore, the price will continue to stay below that. 46,800 is a major support level previously. It held very good. It kept us in this channel for some time, and we were able to take a lot of different profits there when the price kept coming up and down. However, now it's working as a resistance. As you can see, it's been tested multiple times, cannot break, and it's kind of hovering around 46,000 plus or minus. So that's it's got a small little channel there between 46 and 46.8. Secondary support at 44,000, major resistance at 50,000. So we're hoping for this to get a small leg up, for the candlestick, the one-day candlestick to close above 46,800. Then of course we got this opportunity to be able to trend towards 50 and then back on track, right? That's kind of the goal. So that's where Bitcoin is at right now. Moving on to Ethereum, a lot similar here, right? So everything is very familiar. Same price movement, same price action, minus the fact that we have different support and resistance levels. The major resistance of 35.50 is holding strong, and we have a support level at 32.50. So there's a little $300 channel here for Ethereum. It'll probably stay there for a little while until it breaks above. And obviously bear in mind 4160 is the major resistance for Ethereum right now. That is a previous all-time high on the one-day chart. That was the highest point it could reach. Okay. All right, so that's kind of the state of both of those. Now let's take a look at Algorand. I can see why I got a lot of requests here, because obviously it was making some moves before the dip yesterday, before that 25% sell-off, and then the retrace, and then come right back up. So great news is coins that are still increasing while Bitcoin's going sideways right now, still figuring itself out, means that they were destined to do that in the first place. In other words, Algorand had its mind made up. It was going to get to this point anyways, and it got up here a lot faster because this retracement and I would mention, tremendous amount of volume, yep, right there, took off and came right back out. So in other words, not a lot of people sold, but the ones that actually bought the dip are the ones that are driving the price back up, okay? So people just averaging down, or possibly just newcomers to the market for Algorand. No matter how you look at it, essentially, the price is continuing upwards. So again, thank you to my community members for requesting that I cover this here. I think it was, Rose, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you, Rose, so much for asking that I cover this. I actually got a lot more requests than just yours, but that's kind of icing on the cake. When my patrons make a request, I jump on it, so thank you so much for that. So let's take a look here at the one-day chart first, because we always look at the one-day and work our way down. One-day chart is essentially the biggest one there, because we need to make sure we establish and understand where the support and resistance levels are. Now, I'm going to rewind, of course, because I think this was an ICO back in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. But I want to just quickly note here that we got some pretty strong support levels here recently. So obviously, we can see this recent high, and the most recent all-time high, right, in the last year, was, what is that? That's $1.72. So 172 is essentially a pretty strong support level now, because obviously today's candlestick close, or soon to close above. We got about 40 minutes left in this candlestick. Technically, it could still retrace and come back down, but it's looking very nice to be able to stay above. So if that one-day candlestick closes above 172, that's a new support level. Okay. Furthermore, there's also probably a larger major resistance, because if I recall correctly, in 2019, yep, we had this. What was the price? So it's $2.99. So we can say $3. So we're just going to come on over here. Won't worry about making a big old line there. We'll mark $3 on the chart here. It's a little ways away, but we'll make sure to have that for future reference. That'll actually be the most previous all-time high. So just keep that in mind. The price continues to go up. That will maybe be a major resistance level. Because also bear in mind, again, regardless of the ICO date, because I don't really care for the ICO dates to be valid support and resistance levels. The first 2 days it opened, it resisted at $3. That's all well and good, but that doesn't really matter right now, right? Because the most recent all-time high is the most relevant. So I always choose to pick the most recent all-time high. I have some trolls that always ask me why I didn't reference the previous all-time high. I'm doing that now, but it's only in the sense of the fact that it's not even it's not even the cards right now, right? So we're barely even halfway there. So long story short, we don't need to worry about it for a while. And the most relevant high that you're going to pick would be the most recent high, not the very, the very oldest high. In my opinion, you want to focus on what the more recent highs are, just based on the fact that it seems to be more consistent that way. Because people forget all that stuff happened back then. A lot of times they get laser focused on just the most recent 365 days. They don't care to look back that far. Just saying, that's kind of part of the situation there. But regardless, that's where we're at. We're looking at 172 as a major support right now. Potential resistance, but likely support considering we are trending towards closing above that right now. RSI's up over 70. MACD converged back on the first, so we had kind of an indication back here on the first that the price was going to increase. So roughly in that point there, we had an indication to go long. So future reference, you're new to the channel, just new in general to trading, the MACD, the moving average convergence divergence, the 12 intersecting with the 26 in upward fashion. It looks kind of like this. Where do you see that little line there? See where it intersects right here? That is essentially considered a convergence, because the 12 is the faster moving line and the 26 is slower. Those are exponential moving averages. Basically just tells us that we have the bears losing control and the bulls taking control. Right? So it's that shift in momentum. So therefore, I mark it on the calendar, kind of give you an idea. Sorry, I call it a calendar sometimes. It's the chart. I mark it on the chart. It does have time frames, of course. It's somewhat of a calendar. But it's important to note, just so you can kind of see what happened during that time frame. But if you're new, again, best time to invest is right at that point, because the fact that the likelihood of the price continuing upwards is very high, especially in a bull market. Therefore, that would have been a great consideration for an entry point. Had you done so, you'd be up about 63%. Okay, so again, just something to consider. Is it always foolproof? No, but it's more likely a reality, though. It tends to happen more frequent than not. Okay, so that's that little mark there. Let's go ahead and see if there's a convergence in the MACD here as well on the 4 hour. Yes, there is. That is about 2100 yesterday. So we'll mark that as well. So at 2100 yesterday, we had a convergence on the MACD. That's a long candle, so it's going to be kind of a little off, because what we do is we look at the 1 hour chart and we kind of see the correlation between the Ichimoku cloud and the 4 hour MACD convergence, and oftentimes they correlate together. They communicate nicely. It might be a little off based on the fact that we had that significant retracement, a little bit of a blip in the matrix, if you will, and that caused a lot of changes in momentum, but it didn't slow Algorand down at all. This is a great sign. This means this is likely going to continue to progress to hit its original ICO day of $3, likely in the near future. Keep this in mind too. When these coins like this, the large capitalization market coins, not large market cap coins, when they start to take off, this signals altcoin season, right? So a lot of the other random coins you never heard of, those all start taking off as a result of these larger market capitalization coins hitting higher highs and higher lows, breaking their previous all-time highs. When that happens, it creates kind of a crazy altcoin season, and it's really awesome to see. Not saying we're there yet, but we're on the verge, because when Ethereum starts excelling and doing very, very well independent of Bitcoin, which it did, even though it obviously sold off recently because it had to, this is what happens. This is a result of it. So we got the Solanas, we got the ADAs, we got a lot of other coins that are taking off significantly well. They're all large market capitalization coins. We can expect altcoin season to kick in here very soon, especially based on the fact that the 4-year cycle is coming to fruition, and we should see next month or the month after the price jump up and continue to progress much higher than where it's at now. So I think, honestly, a lot of people say 100,000 is likely, and I think it is very much a possibility for Bitcoin. So anyways, that's just kind of speculation, of course, but generally speaking, that's what the charts are telling us, because history does have a tendency of repeating itself, especially in cryptocurrency. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 1 hour chart for the Ichimoku cloud. And this is what I was talking about here. So if you're new to the channel and you don't understand what the Ichimoku cloud is, the general rule of thumb is that when you have the cloud enabled, specifically on the 1 hour chart, mind you, it's not very effective in other time frames. 1 hour chart's the best. When the price is above the cloud, it's considered a buy signal. When it's below, it's considered a sell signal. When it's within, you do not invest. So long story short here, we see this MACD convergence during this time frame. So the MACD was converging at this time frame in that 4 hour chart, right? So plus or minus 3 hours here. This time frame right here is when we should have invested. Okay, easier said than done, of course, but that's kind of how it works. If you catch that, you buy it. You might want to set up some alerts on some of your favorite coins and have that tell you when it's converging. But when that happens, and you look at this and you look at the 1 hour chart, you can see the price is above the Ichimoku cloud. So this is a consideration of a buy signal too. So say you had been watching this and you see this large candlestick comes up here, it would have been smart to be able to buy anywhere in the zone. Okay. And you can get this even further back if you can look at this. The 1-day chart, again, this is a long line here. It could follow somewhere in this 24-hour period. But any time in this period would have been a good time to buy as well, because the 24-hour time frame, that the 1-day chart was telling us on the MACD that we have a convergence and the price is going to shift from bearish to bullish. That's exactly what's happening here. Yes, it took a few days to ramp up and really take off, but hell, earlier the better, right? In most cases, there's nothing wrong with buying low today and selling high, or almost double what you put into it in about 2 weeks. That's not bad. All right, so granted, it's probably only 60%, but it's still a lot of good value there. So anyways, just something to pay attention to. That's where the Ichimoku cloud is very helpful, as well as the MACD convergence on the 4-hour and the 1-day chart. So if you're new to the channel or just new in general, consider a thumbs up or liking, subscribing based on that sentiment alone, because that is something you need to really understand and utilize. Because more often than not, people are not using that. They're just kind of gambling, because this is not gambling, right? This is educating, guessing. You're basically taking the history and using that to predict the future, right? So anyways, it's easier said than done, of course. I know in the 15 years of trading that I've had, these things just start to come up. So I like to kind of provide that to you so you can be more of an effective trader, more self-sufficient. And bear in mind too, I share all of my trades with my community members, so check out my my Patreon account, link in the description below for that, where we just all have a good time. We all communicate openly, but I send direct, basically a signal group where I send all of my trades to my community members. I take about 3 to 5 trades per week, short term, long term, also day trading, hodl trades, of course. Everything you need to learn to be a better, more effective trader. So if you like what you're seeing here today, I include that in that as well. Now, moving forward, let's go ahead and take a look at the 15-minute chart. And we're going to go ahead and take a quick peek at the EMA and VWAP. Now, EMA and VWAP is awesome because it's basically, it's telling us when you're above support or, below resistance. And it also tells you when the bulls or the bears are in control. So if you're new to the channel, the VWAP is this blue line here. It's a volume weighted average price. It takes the volume last 24 hours, express it as a price. That being said, when the price is above, it's considered a support. When it's below, it's considered a resistance. So you can see here, for the most part, it's working as a support level, keeping the price above. Also note, the price came up here, got rejected, and came back down, and is bouncing off the VWAP here, right? So it holds really well as a support. It's really nice. It's continuous. It has standard deviation lines that not a lot of people are aware of, but what that does is it basically tells you that the price is either too high or too low. So right here, if you look, for example, when it maxed out, it was at 20%, almost 20% away from the VWAP. The price ended up retracing back down because it had to come down. Therefore, it's that gravitativity of the VWAP. So the volume weighted average price, sorry, I didn't explain this. The volume weighted average price takes the volume last 24 hours and expresses it as a price. That essentially helps us understand that, the price is either too high or too low away from that line. So there's a standard deviation. When that's too great, it has to come back down. So bottom line here is when you see the VWAP and you see the price action too far away, it might be an indication that the price is going to come back down. There's a strong chance the RSI, as you can see here, is up over 70 and it has to come back down. Okay. So VWAP is the blue line. The red line is the EMA. That's the exponential moving average, the 15. I use that primarily on the 15-minute chart. Easy to remember, 15 on the 15. And the reason why it's helpful is it just, when the price is above, it's considered to be bullish. When it's up below, it's bearish. So if you see here, price is bouncing off EMA, EMA, and VWAP, EMA, EMA, lost EMA, but was held in place by the VWAP. Okay, so a lot of little things that kind of help you understand, hey, well, the bulls are still in control. Maybe I should hold on to my position. Or, hey, the bulls are losing control here. The standard deviation between the VWAP line and the price action is too high. Maybe the price is going to come back down. I'm going to trim my position. So more often than not, I'll do that, especially when you're trading into a resistance level. Again, we looked at this previously. We are at a major resistance level at 172. So when you look at the 15 here, you can see the price is testing and kind of above and below it. You want to be careful around here until it establishes itself as a support level. Then you want to honor it as a resistance. So here it broke above, yes, but it broke down below. Hasn't had enough time above, and in my opinion, to be considered a support level. On top of that, we still have 30 minutes before this candlestick closes. Obviously, we're probably going to see the candlestick stay above because, in 30 minutes for the price to retrace, 10, 15%, it's kind of a lot. But for lack of better terms, you always want to honor the resistance levels or support levels before you buy into them. Okay. So again, just little things you pick up over the years, and you'll get an eye for it eventually too, just kind of the way it goes. But that being said, my prediction here for Algorand is definitely to exceed its most recent all-time high. In other words, it's kind of already done that, obviously. It's going to probably stay above its support levels. So keep in mind the most recent all-time high was $1.72, and that is the new support level. Moving forward, will it hit $3? My guess is absolutely yes. How soon? It's hard to say specifically, but I think it'll get halfway there within the next few weeks, especially if Bitcoin can rally back up to 50,000 and continue to progress towards 60. Because this has obviously done very well when Bitcoin's done poorly. Imagine how well it's going to do when Bitcoin continues to do better. Okay, that's how a lot of these coins are doing right now. They're getting prepared, they're getting ready to take off. We see these large volume spikes, a lot of interest, and they're starting to accumulate more capitalization, which in turn gives them more stability and more, the price stays more consistent. So we shouldn't expect the price to just come crashing back down. That happens on low cap coins more so than large cap coins. Coins like this, again, I've mentioned this before, ADA, Solana's, they all take a lot of market capitalization, but in doing so, the probability of them retracing back down is very low, at least as hard as it should. Now, granted, obviously it retraced back down yesterday. That had to happen. That was just the nature of how Bitcoin sold off. But it recovered and did very, very well in the last 24 hours. So as we can see, it's done a lot of good stuff here. So I like Algorand. I think it's awesome. I think it's a good coin to invest in. My recommendation would be to kind of see how the price continues to respond. If it can, hopefully it'll continue to retrace down a little bit, where you can get a better value and get in around 172. Because again, if you look at this here, it's a bit on the overextended side. This run has been kind of going on for a little while. So I think it's recommended to kind of consider taking some profits while you still can, and move your stop loss up to just below the support level, maybe just say 160, 165. That way, if the price does retrace back down, you still take profits. But I think the likelihood of it coming back down is pretty low. 172 should be the lowest we're going to see in the near future. All right, let's hope for the best, expect the worst. All right, so thank you so much for checking this out. We'll look forward to seeing the next video. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.